reading is an essential part of our lives.
I have the same.
If you are not fond of what you are reading, then there is no need in doing that.
Hello, Natalia. Today we will dedicate our talk to adapted literature. I'm fond of recommending to your students reading adapted books.
Yes, the topic of adapted literature is actually one of my favorite topics.
I know that you've prepared some kind of piles of books of your favorite ones.
Prepared Russian editions, but they're very good. I really like them. So for very little kids, I like these adventures of the kitten Ready. The grammar is very simple, very easy, but vocabulary and exercises which children can find in these books are worth mentioning. The same, the adventures in the grassland, the same author, Yulia Puchkova, about Humpty and his friends. So for very little kids, they are really wonderful. Nick and Pet's Diary, it can be read in, for example, at the age of 11, 12, but though it is also beginner.
I have the same.
The same, yes, I really used to, you like that. Well, yes. Then I also like The Magic of Oz. It's very old, which I bought recently, this one. It is given with a CD, and I should recommend this series of these books because the listening is just perfect here. I have some other books of other levels. This is for children, but I have for adults also. For example, Pride and Prejudice. It is already the third level. I should say it's upper intermediate. But
okay,
if you start
interesting. You know, as for Pride and Prejudice, I also have it, but in a different edition. You
with
know,
CD, with SCD, yes, it's
yeah, and
wonderful.
I guess that it is level 3. It is intermediate level. So probably it will be good for teenagers or adults. And
Yes.
it actually contains pictures with that film adaptation with Keira Knightley. So for those who like the movie, that would be probably a better option, but
Yes.
it's definitely not for children.
We have for kids the same series of books and also for adults. And what I really enjoyed here was listening. So I would really recommend the accent, the British accent. I would like to share a lot because I really like to read books with not only with children, with college students maybe, and with adults because they are involved. Reading gives so many emotions. Legends of King Arthur. It is pre-intermediate level, but also very good, and there is listening added to it. Or Henry stories, for anyone. It can be for anyone, for teenagers, for adults. The second level here, but I think it is something like intermediate. White Fan by Jack London. And the same level is Mark Twain stories. As for upper intermediate, maybe The Great Gatsby, Martin Eden, which is also which is wonderful. And vocabulary here is upper intermediate or even advanced. Air, the same.
You know, classic tales. They're awesome because there is a picture, huge picture on every page, and the pages are glossy. And at the end of the book, there is also a picture dictionary, but there are actually 5 levels. Okay. And how do you recommend your students to choose a book?
First of all, I should say that that students should estimate their language level. For this purpose, there are a lot of sites where you can estimate it, and only then you can choose a book according to your reading skills. Because if it is too difficult, you will lose every interest to read, and if it is too easy, there is no need. understand that you are reading your favorite book, but you are reading it in English. So students have such unforgettable emotions that it is hard to express if they, of course, like reading in general. One of my girls wanted to read Pride and Prejudice, really wanted to read just this book. Pride and Prejudice. It was her passion, her desire to read it. So, of course, she knows everything. She has seen a lot of films and she has read this book in Russian and she wanted to read it in English, intermediate level. And now we are reading it together. If you are not fond of what you are reading, then there is no need in doing that.
So interesting, because sometimes people say, you know, or they can say, you know, I've watched an adaptation of it. Yeah, film adaptation, but it's absolutely not the same. Or there are sometimes vice versa situations when the books are based on movies or series. For instance, I have an edition, The Beginnings of Everything Else, which is based on series Dawson Creek.
The use will be the same because reading will give the same benefits. And if you are passionate about some film, why not read it like this? Reading is an essential part of our life, just really essential, because first of all, it is not only adventures, it is being in your own world, just keeping this peace of mind, and it is necessary. Pace of life, yes, it's very fast, and we need time, at least 15 minutes, half an hour, to be in our own world, to think of something, to reflect, so it's absolutely necessary. Online learning a language is the same as any other method. So of course, we read books. There are different sites where you can type the words and practice, like Quizlet, for example. There is such a site, and you can practice these words, new words, new phrases, and it is much easier than just write them in your notebook.
Okay. And how do you actually discuss books with your students? In what way do you do that online?
Of course, I ask them to retell not the whole chapter if it is too long, but at least some pages. For example, the student has read, and I ask him or her to retell what you have understood. Then I can ask and their opinion, what they think about this or that character. Just a few words. Reading doesn't take all our lesson. It takes only some part of it. Reading can never compensate for speaking, but it can make speaking easier because knowing a lot of new words, speech patterns, grammar structures used in the books that you are reading will give you the possibility to express your opinion and to discuss more topics.
So thank you so much for
pleasure.
this talk.